Well, welcome to my shop. I'm Earl. It's Earl's Small Segment Shop. I just did a video on a really basic open segment turning. It's a nice little turning, though. And I thought I was going to do a follow-up on it with a little bit more difficult one. But they're going to have this year a National Juried Art Show. And I talked to the people at the Art Council. They're going to let me put in pieces without having to take a picture and send it in, which never works. They look at the picture and never accept any of my pieces. But they want my pieces, so I'm going to be able to take them straight in. So it means I want to make a new piece for the show. So what I decided, I'm going to make a basic crisscross piece, only 6 segments wide in the pattern. I got the pattern drawn out here. I'll get a still shot of it. And I'm going to make it 24 segments, which would be 4 repetitions. I could make it 30 segments, but I don't know if I got time to do that. Then I drew out the shape of it. I had to draw it in 2 different pieces, but I got the shape drawn out. It's going to be about 14 inches wide. It's going to come up and then go way up to about a 6-inch top. And I'm going to put 30 or 32 segment rows on it, depending on what the pattern looks like when I get up there. Going to be 8-inch bottom, so I'm going to use a floating bottom. I got some tamarind I glued up to make the floating bottom piece, It ain't thin enough yet. I'm going to use this for the bottom piece, the one with the rabbit in it, piece that holds the floating bottom. Then I'm going to use maple for the cap ring. Of course, I'm going to have to split it. It's way too thick, but I'm going to use it for the cap ring. For another reason, I'm going to use it as a trim ring too. So it'll be a little thin cap ring. It'll actually be a trim ring. And then I've got all my stock set up. I'm going to use 0.8-inch tall segments. I've got, this is the Purple Heart stock. I got it ready. I've got all the stock ready. I was going to make it, where's that pattern at? I was going to make it with the diamond-shaped pieces in the middle being light maple and east being Purple Heart and Paduk with light colored in the center. But when I wanted to buy some more wood, I needed some more Paduk and some more Purple Heart. They didn't have any. Now I can't drive all the way again to try and find some. So I'm going to reverse the colors. So the light area is going to become Peruvian walnut. Where I got the Paduk and the Purple Heart drawn in, I'm going to use maple and silkwood. Silkwood's a lightish yellow wood, kind of a substitute for yellow heart. Not quite as yellow, but it's a little bit yellow. And then I'll put Paduk and Purple Heart in the center of the stripes, which I've got enough for that. So I think I got enough material to make it. So first thing I'm going to do is make the floating bottom. I'm going to start with this, put it up, and make a floating bottom. I'm going to put it in a cold jaws, flatten it. I'm going to put a bevel in it on the inside, so I won't have to do that later after I finish. This will be the bottom. Then I'll glue it to a faceplate with brown paper, and I'll flatten it and put in a rabbit. And I ain't going to go through all of that because I want to keep this video fairly short. And I've got a video on how to do floating bottoms. And the reason I do floating bottoms, of course, is because of wood movement. Anything over 6 inches, and sometimes even smaller ones. And I'm not going to show how to glue up a segment. I've got a video on that, both half ring glue up and full ring glue up methods. So if you want to see that, I've got a video on that too. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on making the floating bottom. I'm going to flatten this one now. This is going to be the very bottom. I'm going to turn the inside and get it smooth so I don't have to later when the floating bottom's in there, so I won't hit it. So I'm going to do both of them. I'm going to go ahead and flatten this ring now so I won't have to do it later. What I'm going to do, faceplate, sacrificial wood on it. I'm going to glue heavy brown paper on it. Glue it right on. Then I'm going to glue the bottom ring right to the heavy brown paper. And that way it's very easy to remove when I'm finished. And it won't come off when I'm turning. Got the faceplate, brown paper glued on it. I got glue on the ring and the cold jaws. I'm going to bring them up. And glue it right on. Spin it around and get the glue spread a little bit. Clump it down a little bit and leave it for a while, and I'll be ready to turn the other side of that ring. It's dried for about 20 minutes, so I got to flatten it and then put a rabbet in it. Now to make sure it's flat. Yep, it's flat. Okay, I've got it clamped up now. Got the floating bottom in, got the top ring clamped on. Light layer of glue to hold it on. I don't want any squeeze out to get to the floating bottom. Of course, like I said, I've got a video on that. The floating bottom's made. The floating bottom's made. The cap ring's on. Cap ring's been turned down. Actually, I parted half of it off and then turned it down about 1/4 of an inch thick. Sanded it flat and smooth. Turned the outside round. So it's ready for the first row of open segments. First row of open segments, it's going to be 9-inch ring, according to this. So 9-inch ring, on my cheat sheet's 0.829. So I got to set this to 0.829. It's going to be 24 segments per ring. So I'm using a commercial index wheel. And the inside index happens to be 48. So I'm using the inside index, which is 48, which is perfect. I got half of them marked, which was 24 marked and 24 unmarked. So I used the 24 marked ones for the first ring and the 24 unmarked ones for the second ring, and so on. So this is ready to go. Going to use the commercial gluing platform. I got it set up for 9-inch segments. Got my drill chuck on it. It's a Harbor Freight drill chuck, works just fine. So that's ready to go. So I've got to cut 24 segments at 5.25 degrees. So where is my, here it is, my pattern. So following the pattern, like I said, I'm reversing the colors on these. I got to mark which one's what. So following the pattern, I'm going to have to cut 12 Peruvian walnut. I'm going to have to cut 8 of the soap wood. And I'm going to have to cut let's see, I'm going to have to cut 4 of the Purple Heart. So I'm going to set up my sled and I'm going to go ahead and cut 24 segments for it. I got the first 24 segments cut for the first ring. Got them lined up according to the way they're going on. Got the gluing platform set up for 9-inch, 4.5 inch from the center. The index wheel set up, got it set on the marked index. I got 24 marked, 24 unmarked. Got the index wheel set so that the first segment's going to glue on right over one of the joints of the cap ring. So I'm ready to glue the first 24 on. Going to use tight bond quick and thick so I can glue them all on in 5 seconds. Put glue on it, hold it for 5 seconds, go to the next one. Ready to glue on the first row of segments. Get the glue down. It ain't down yet. A light coat of glue. Hold it for 5 seconds. Go to the next marked index. Next segment. Light coat of glue. Hold it for 5 seconds. Yeah, I'm going to go on and do all the rest of the row on. Every row of segments has to be sanded flat. First thing I do is mark them with chalk so I'll know when they're flat. They don't always sand the same. There's always one that seems to be a little bit thinner. Even though they were all run through the drum sander at the same time. I don't know how that happens, but it does. But they need to be perfectly flat. Chalk them off. Regular old sidewalk chalk. Take a sanding board. Let me turn on the dust collector. All the chalk's gone. They're flat and ready for the next ring to go on. It's been over 15 minutes since I glued this row on. I just sanded it flat. In the meantime, I cut the second row. Now I got to be really careful where I start gluing it on to make sure it follows the drawings. I'm using the unmarked segments for this row. So I'm ready to glue on the second row. Again, light layer of glue. Glue all over it everywhere. Light layer. 5 seconds. Go to the next index. Put the second one on. Again, a light layer of glue. Hold it on for 5 seconds. Get it on tight. Go to the next index. We're going to go ahead and do all the rest of the ring that way. It's been 15 minutes since I glued the second row on. I cut the third row in the meantime, being very mindful of the pattern when you cut it, when I put it on. I already sanded the second row flat just like I did the first row. Third row is going to be 10 3/4 inch diameter. So I've got my platform set up. I'm going to use the red indexes, glue it on with the same as the first row. So I'm ready to glue it on, and from now on I'm just going to add rows for a while, all the same. Cut, glue, sand, cut, glue, sand, all the way up for a while. Years ago, I was turning just closed segments, solid segments. I made some big turnings, 30 inches tall, 32 inches tall. So I made my steady rest so I could put on them. I made my steady rest. It'll take 19.5 inch turning. It'll actually fit it. I got a 1/4 inch steel piece across the bottom. So I used it making these tall turnings to keep them steady. Then one day I decided to make a big open segment turning. And I got it out quite a ways and decided I needed a steady rest. Putting a steady rest on a open segment turning just ain't going to work. Every time it hits a hole, it's going to jump, tear things up. So I thought about it for a while. What can I do? I finally figured out if I take 2 rings that are the same diameter, turn them around, leave the joint between them just a little bit proud, say 1/8 inch on each side, I could put the wheels right on that joint. So there'd always be wood on them. When there's a hole on one side, there's wood on the next ring. Well, rollerblade wheels won't stay on the joint, let me tell you. So I went and bought some skateboard wheels. They're flat on the bottom. Put it on the ring, and lo and behold, I just get a pretty smooth running steady rest. So that's what I'm going to do with this turning. The widest spot is at rings 10 and 11. I'm going to put the steady rest there. But later, when I get way out past it, I'm going to have to move it up. And then the rings are getting smaller every time, so there are no 2 that are the same size. So I'm going to do is make a special ring. Use longer segments. I'm going to put the steady rest on rings 19 and 20. I'm going to get some pictures. I'm also actually going to get a video of it running on the rings. I'll do that. See if I can get some pictures of it. I'll probably take the pictures out at 19 and 20 ring. After I get it all the way out, get it all the way out, put a solid ring on the top, I'm going to move it up the solid ring, finish turning the inside. Even with a steady rest, turning the inside is scary. So I'll try and get some still pictures, and I'm going to try and get a video picture of it running. I got this set so you can see just how the wheels roll between on the joint between the segments. Nice and smooth. I'm at row 19 now. My steady rest is sitting on row 14 and 15 on the joint between them. I need to move it forward. My steady rest got to have 2 rings equal diameter in order to ride the joint between them. Rings 14 and 15 is right at the widest spot, and I have 2 rings that are both 14 inch. Ring 19 now, it's at 11.5 inch diameter. I want to put it between rings 19 and 20, right on the joint. The ring 20 is only 11 inch diameter. Now if I put the row on 20, 11.5 inch diameter, of course it wouldn't be far enough inside. It would ruin the whole turning. So what I'm doing, I'm making a set of segments for one row that's longer than the rest of the segments. Just for this one row. That way they'll stick further inside. I got a picture of two of them, still picture of two of them. So I'm going to put this row on at 11.5, just like row 19. But because they're longer, they'll stick further inside and it won't, I'll have the right dimension inside. Then I can go on the next string, will be 10.5. It'll just be a little extra wood on the outside to turn off later. That's no problem. So I'm going to go ahead and put these extra wide ones on. I got the catalog string. And it's been about 20 minutes. I flattened one side, flattened the back side a little bit, not as much. I'm going to put it in the cold jaws and glue it right up on the turning. Make sure the joints on this fall right over the top of the segment. And then I'll be gluing up the maple ring, and all I have to do is make the wingate ring. I'm going to do the maple ring the same way. I'm just going to, like I did before, on the bottom, I'm just going to put this in the cold jar, put glue on it, bring it up, glue it on. The cold jaws will automatically center it. Now, on the bottom, I've got a 1/4-inch maple ring as a trim ring. I want one on the top, but on the top, where the pattern ends, there's maple segments. On the bottom, there are no maple segments on the bottom ring, but there is on the top. I don't really want maple against maple. It can't really see the trim ring that well. So I put on a catalog string, dark catalog string, but I want it really, really thin, just enough to separate them. So I'm going to have to turn it down to get it really thin, probably between a 1/16 and 1/8 of an inch. And I got the maple ring glued up and drying. I'm going to have to turn it down to 1/4 inch when I put it on. So I'm going to go ahead and turn the catalog string down. Got the inside turned, and that was scary. Even with a steady rest, it still ain't real stable. It jumps when you try and turn it. I am going to spray the inside now. After I spray the inside, I'm going to have to let it sit and get it out of the shop because of the fumes. Wait till tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to put the cone on it, put it between center, take the steady rest off. Once I put it between centers, then it'll be real stable. Easy to turn the outside because it'll be stable between centers. Not like with a steady rest. I got a picture of them. I couldn't get any pictures of turning them because my articulated arm from my camera just don't come out that far from the faceplate. It's 24 inches out from the faceplate. It's going to be about 25.5 inches tall when I finish. So I'm going to go ahead and spray the inside now, and I'm going to put it between centers tomorrow. I finished turning the inside. I sprayed it, finish on it. Turn the top ring just a little bit because it'll be hard to get to once I put the cone in it. So I'm going to take the steady rest off. I'm going to put it between centers. I got a cone, homemade cone, made from MDF. Got a 1x8 nut in it. Got a set screw in the side of the nut. Put it on the live center. Put it in the tailstock. Got a set screw so I can lock it down, otherwise it has a tendency to unscrew. Before I put the set screw on it, it unscrewed one time. Started compressing and turning. I was working on open segment. Finally compressed it enough it exploded all over the place. I picked up the pieces. Not one glue joint failed, but the wood split all over. So yeah, it was scary turning the inside here right at the end because of vibration. Even with a steady rest, you get vibration way out here. But when I put it between centers, it'll stabilize this in and it'll be a piece of cake turning the outside. So I'm going to be busy taking off a steady rest and putting a cone in the top of it. Now when I take a steady rest off, I'm going to have to put some support on it because it's heavy enough it might break loose from the faceplate, being as how it's only put on with a piece of paper. So you got to be careful and keep it supported. This was kind of a short ending to this video, and I'm going to apologize for it. What happened, I was turning and I got unattentive, got careless for just a second. Bang! Split my finger open, lost a fingernail, broke the bone, had to wrap it in a towel and drive to ER. And my wife wouldn't let me back in the shop. And she wouldn't let me back in the shop. And on the last day before I had to turn the turning in, that afternoon she let me back in the shop. I had to finish it. And I didn't bring a camera with me. I apologize. I mean, I turned the outside, sanded it, sprayed it because of the padlock. I don't want the padlock to run, so I spun it and sprayed it. Turned it around, turned the bottom, signed it, and got it out. My son did get a picture of it finished with me in the house, so I'll put that picture up. But I really apologize for the quick ending on this video. I got a little bit of shop maintenance to do, and then the next video I'm going to do that Anybody Can Do Easy Turning Part 2 that I was supposed to do. So I'm going to get that done next. And again, I apologize for it, and please come back and see my next video. Thank you.